All right, good evening everybody. Thank you very much for being here. My name is Lacy Campbell. This is my partner Cera Youngson, and we are here today to present to you our solution to the Pop Shop venture case. Now, I'm sure that many of you in this room would agree with me that family is a big part of who you are. Friends usually tend to come and go throughout the years, but your family is always there for you, and we're here today to show you exactly why Pop Shop is a member of the family. Now, Brian, we want to congratulate you first for purchasing the brand. We think that you have a really great opportunity here, and what we'd like to do and our goal going forward is we really want to take some of those original aspects, we're going to change it, modify it, bring it into a new market, and what our real goal is to keep a lot of those symbols, emotional benefits, customer benefits, anything and everything that those original consumers connected with the first time when they first purchased the product. Now, just a quick rundown of what we're trying to accomplish here today. We do want to go over our problem identification. Through our analysis as well as all our alternatives, we will give you some recommendations as well as our implementation plan that we're very excited about. And obviously we will conclude and open that floor for questions at that time. And I'm going to pass it off to Sarah, who is going to go through our problem identification.
So when we went over your case, we found a couple primary issues. Most of them are relating to the brand and the product. I'm going to tell you a bit more about the strengths and weaknesses of the brand in a couple minutes. And as for the product, well, right now we don't really have one. We're going to have to define a ready-to-market product. We're going to have to figure out how to manufacture and distribute it, and we're going to need to find a promotional strategy that's going to reach our target market. Your capabilities and resources, your entrepreneurial spirit, and your financial resources and networking abilities are going to be really, really important to break into this multi-level competitive environment, where there are established competitors that already have reputation, economies of scale, and much larger financial resources. There's some secondary issues we shouldn't forget about as well. That original consumer bracket is aging, and due to health problems, they might not be frequent soft drink users. The younger generation is going to be completely unaware, and you're going to have to introduce this brand to them. First impressions here are going to be very important. Across all age demographics, consumer demands are changing for soft drinks, mostly due to concerns for health and for wellness. People are more concerned about what's going into their food and their beverages. As a beverage, you're going to have to deal with some consumer health or health and legal issues. You're going to be certified by the Food and Drug Act and the Consumer Packaging and Labeling Act. So we think it would be very important to seek some kind of legal and liability protection. So let's take a look at your situation. There is some real strength in the equity of this brand. It was very popular in the 70s and 80s, but it has been out of the market for over 20 years. We think that the nostalgic appeal really is going to hit home with some of those older consumers, but nostalgic appeal is not something to base your long-term unique positioning advantage on. We do, however, think that it is enough to get you into this industry.
Now, just to kind of give you an idea of what sort of competition you will be up against, obviously there are 3 different levels that you have to consider. Now, your first and foremost is your niche market, which is your Jones and Stewart soda. Then, of course, there are the private labels, your no-name brands that you'll find at Sobeys, Walmart, things like that. And of course, we can't forget our market leaders in our big 4, more specifically Pepsi and Coke, who as of right now own 90% of the market share. Now, each of those competitors all have different strategies. They have different advertising, adaptation, and distribution methods. Now, looking at just adaptation on its own, they do have different lines of sodas from sugar-free to diet and things like that. So we feel that the best strategy going forward is to really attack that niche market. Yes, you could go up against Coke and Pepsi, but keep in mind they do have that capital, they do have that resources. If at any time they did feel threatened, they could easily acquire a company. So we feel the best strategy going forward would be to enter the niche market. Now, we also did a quick industry analysis just to kind of see whether or not that industry is attractive enough. Now, just to highlight a couple of the key points, making new distribution channels is hard in the entrance, and rivalry between Coke and Pepsi is heavily severe. Not to mention, like we've already said, a lot of their advertising strategies in the capital, they've become very efficient in what they do. So if you were to look at it from a Porter's 5 Forces model, it is a very unattractive industry. However, from the strategy that we've put forward for you guys, we feel that we have a very, very successful chance of getting into that market.
So to look at your environmental analysis, we do think there is an opportunity for you to use some of those brand strengths to break into this market as a niche premium product. We do think that nostalgic appeal is going to hit home with a demographic to get you started in the market. And the Canadian market overall has seen a trend towards premium products. The premium soft drink industry itself is worth about $25 million. So it is a valuable industry to go after. Also, sticking with that niche market is going to take you out of competition, direct competition with those big power players and off their radar. There are environmental changes that you're going to have to be aware of. There's fluctuations in the price of raw ingredients, and consumer demands are changing, as we discussed before. So we think that there is opportunities for you to use innovation to introduce different flavors, maybe sugar-free or more healthy varieties of the product to kind of accommodate those changing consumer demands. We also think there's opportunities for more dramatic brand extensions into completely different product categories, maybe frozen snacks, juices, candies, things like that.
Now we have come up with a number of different alternatives for you, and that's just based on the case itself and all of our secondary research that we've done. We will go over these fairly quickly, and we'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have about them at the end. Now first and foremost, Brian, we do have the do not pursue option. Now, being that this is a risky venture, there's a lot of capital involved, one of the options is to obviously not pursue it at all, which would save you a lot of time, a lot of commitment, and obviously take away a lot of the risk.
Our second alternative is to independently manufacture the Pop Shop product yourself. To do this, you're going to need a facility roughly like the one on the screen here. Now, we've costed a bare bones operation at well over $200,000. This is the riskiest, highest capital cost, and most time consuming of our alternatives.
Another strategy that you could pursue, obviously, is the licensing of your brand. Now, keep in mind that with this, you will give up significant amount of control of your company, but you will also make a royalty off of every single bottle that's sold. That being said, that does take away a lot of the risk and a lot of the capital that is involved to get you started.
Another alternative is third-party manufacturing, and this is where we're going to recommend that you head. Although you are going to lose a little bit of your margins by having another manufacturer physically produce the product, you're also going to really cut down on those capital costs, the time commitment, and you're also going to transfer some of that risk to this partner who's going to be able to use some of their industry experience and their supplier and distributor networks to help you. A third-party manufacturer will have your brand in their best interest. You're working together on this. We know you've done some research yourself, and we did a little on our own. We found some companies that might work as a manufacturer, and I'd like to point out Top Shelf Flavors of London, Ontario. They're a fruit juice and carbonated soft drink formulator and manufacturer, and we really think that they have values and the capacity and capabilities to produce the product of our specifications. Now, if you are to go into a third-party manufacturing agreement, there are some terms that you're going to have to negotiate, such as the number of units you're going to have produced, the rates you're going to pay to have it produced, and who would be responsible for distribution and retailing. Given the legal nature of these negotiations, we really think it would be wise for you to seek a legal consultant or to hire a lawyer with experience negotiating manufacturing terms. Moving forward, no matter which of our alternatives you were to choose, we really think it would be important for you to kind of stop, look at what you have, and define a brand strategy to go forward. Your brand strategy is going to depend heavily on you, the amount of personal control that you want to retain, and the amount of financial and time commitment that you're willing to put into this. Luckily for you, we've done a bit of your homework, and we're really excited to show you our plans for your recommendation and implementation. Firstly, for the brand image, we really want you to rely on those family-focused images that are embedded in the way that this brand related to its consumers in the 70s and 80s. We also think that the Canadian local production is a really nice selling point, and also the nostalgic appeal would really hit home with that late boomer demographic, that they themselves spent time with this brand with their families in their own childhood. We think the nostalgia, the memorability, and just the simple classic design is really going to stick out to these people in an overcrowded marketplace.
Now, in terms of what you're going to be bringing into the market to start off with, what we would suggest is bringing back the 6 most popular flavors, and then obviously testing the market for their acceptance. Now, how we plan on doing that is, like we said, innovation is a really big part of getting this company up and going. It's not something we're focusing on initially, but it is something that we will be offering through the Extend the Flavor line. Now, what we've come up with is a Create the Flavor contest, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But again, in terms of the packaging, the brand, the product itself, we want to keep it as authentic as possible so that those consumers really get the chance to reconnect with that brand all over again. So keeping the glass bottle, keeping the logo, keeping the symbol, we want to keep all of that the same so that they have the opportunity to connect again.
So what we have here is a comparative price chart of direct and indirect competitors that are in this industry. We're recommending a $2.45 price point to the end consumer. That's right on par with Jones Soda. It's slightly above Stewart's. We think it's going to be important to justify this price using product elements like the glass bottle, like the label, the traditional recipe, and the atmosphere of some of the retailers we're going to tell you about to really justify that price. Because it's important to notice that this is a price shift. This was a discount product in the 70s and 80s, and we want to bring it back as a premium. So you're really going to have to justify that. The retail price that we're recommending of $2.45 allows for cost coverage, also comfortable margins for yourself, your manufacturer, and a future distributor.
Now, in terms of where we're going to be selling the product originally, our biggest suggestion is to start off as an independent distributor. Now, the market that we're looking at getting into first and foremost is London, Ontario. What's great is it already has the population of the boomers that we're looking for, and what's great, because it's so close to Toronto, you do have the advantage later on to take advantage of those distribution channels. Now, where their customers will be able to pick that up are specialty stores, restaurants, retro theaters, anywhere that is just a really good connection with the brand and the nostalgia that we're going for. After that, we would suggest finding wholesalers and distributors, moving into supermarkets, and our suggestion is going through Allmart Distributing and Unique Foods. Now, the biggest thing that is going to be that will get this brand off the ground, getting the product back into the market, is going to be the sales promotion. And what we would suggest to start off with is offering a 6-pack. So it really plays back to that original 24-pack that consumers could pick and choose, but they will get a discount from purchasing 6 at once. Now, the other great thing is, because it's family oriented, the other option to get new people involved is any sort of family events. Children's festivals, amusement parks, where they have the opportunity to be at a kiosk and sample those flavors if they haven't had the chance to do so. Now, Brian, I know that you had mentioned that you have a very limited budget to work with, and we wanted to respect that. And so with that, what we did is we came up with a really great strategy we think you'll enjoy. And what we'll be focusing on is the social media, as well as a prize of tickets to the NHL Stanley Cup Final. Now, what we're hoping for is the highest amount of penetration for the least amount of cost. The other option as well is contacting other local news media within the Toronto area and just letting them know what you as an entrepreneur are trying to accomplish. Now, we also have just a kind of a demonstration website here for you to kind of showcase what it is that we are trying to accomplish. Now, when consumers log on, they have the chance to learn a little bit more about the Pop Shop, where it came from. They have the opportunity to also look at the new flavors that are currently out, as well as new ones. They have the opportunity as well to find out exactly where they can purchase it at a location that's convenient for them. But the biggest thing that we will be showcasing is the contest, like I mentioned before. Now, again, because we're family oriented, what we want families to do is to submit photos of them spending times with their family. So whether that's at the beach, at the amusement park, and of course they're obviously going to showcase the product in there with them as well. The second part of the contest is they're going to be designing their favorite flavor, or if they were an original customer before, what was the favorite flavor that they would like to bring back. The whole idea is that throughout this contest, all the submissions will be in by a certain date, and then will be posted to Facebook. And from there, sky's the limit, because all of those family members have the chance to vote for their favorites, vote for their favorite flavors, and again, just promoting that whole family image all around. Now, keep in mind, with all of these images that are being submitted to you, those can be developed into different advertising campaigns later on, all focused around the family aspect.
So if we were to give you a summary of what we really want this brand to be, is as original as possible. This brand did well in the 70s and 80s. It had something. And we do think that that family focus was a very big part of it. We want to kind of recreate the brand using those original image components and really have an identity as a classic Canadian favorite that's perfect for any family gathering. We're recommending that you use a third-party manufacturer to cut your startup costs and also borrow expertise to get into this market. We're recommending you start as an independent niche distributor, finding yourself some places that really fit with the brand's image. So those are retro theaters, specialty restaurants, and anywhere that people go and take their family to enjoy time together. We'd like to see you kind of build some demand, build some sales, and be able to take that information to a bigger retailer or a bigger distributor. We're recommending Allmart distributors first. We think that the promotional and public relation methods that we've discussed are low-cost alternatives for you to really hit home with that target market. We also want you to consider some future options, including extending your flavor line and possibly extending your production capacity once you meet capacity in the current facility. We think that future product expansion into other brand expansion into other products is also a very nice alternative into the things like snacks and fruit juices and frozen snacks. We want to remind you that in this industry, acquisition by a larger competitor is always going to be a possibility. We think that the more comprehensive your brand package is, the larger price that eventual sale could command. If you follow our implementation, you would see the Pop Shop back on specialty shops by the first week of October of this year. We've done some cost estimates for you using that $2.45 per bottle. After cost of goods sold and margins to both your manufacturer and distributor, you yourself are left with a margin of 11 cents per bottle. There's asterisks next to the manufacturer and distributor just to point out that these are estimates. The power of your negotiations when you're agreeing on your terms could make these estimates more or less in your favor. Using the 11 cents per bottle to cover the research and development costs to start up of $70,000, we've calculated a break-even point of just about 640,000 bottles that would need to be produced. At full capacity in the facility that we mapped out, this would be reached in just under 8 weeks.
All right, so this concludes our presentation, and we'd like to open the floor this time to any questions that you may have.
Nostalgia is a key driving factor in this case. You have to connect with that emotion at store level. How are you guys going to do that?
At the store level?
Yeah.
We were really, we talked about adding some value points there, the glass bottles, the traditional recipe. We'd like to see this product served cold wherever possible as well, just to hit that price point. But the nostalgia, it really is about connecting with the atmosphere. So those retro theaters, if you're going to see an older movie, it might be a nice thing to have. It would be a product that kind of connects with the situation that it's in. Same with those specialty restaurants. If you're in a restaurant with a black and white checkered floor, cafe style, that Pop Shop pop might really just fit into the situation that you're having.
As a tie into that question then is, how are you going to convince those retailers that your product should be on the shelf versus well-known Pepsi?
A big part of this strategy was trying to choose places that would not have an exclusive contract with either Coke or Pepsi. That was a humongous part of why we chose the places that we did. I think the local production is going to be really big. These are all going to be produced in London. Our first market is all in London, Ontario. So I'm hoping that these people would support local production to see this brand back.
Local production and Canadian business overall, because
Yeah.
it was originally a Canadian company. We also want that to be part of the brand and part of the aspect as well. So. Any other questions? Thank you very much, ladies.